Hello and welcome to the Energie studio at European Utility Week, and we're joined now by Greetje. Greetje, thank you for making the time to come to the studio, and you're from Texel and Energie. And we're talking a little bit off air about, and before we start, can you just give us a context of what you're trying to do on the island of Texel? Give us a little bit of geographical background, just so that people get a framework for the answers we're going to be giving in the following questions.
Yep. Well, Texel is an island in the Netherlands, and it's about 5 kilometers from the mainland. It's very flat, so we have a lot of wind and a lot of sun. The island is about 25 by 7-8 kilometers, and it's a sandy island, so we have a dune area and we have about 7 villages. There live about 13,000 people on the island, and the government of the island wants to get self-sustainable for energy.
Right.
And there is a cooperation, an energy cooperation. It's formed by the people of the island that wants to make sure that we get renewable energy on the island ourselves, so that we can keep the work and the energy on the island and be less dependent of the mainland and the big companies.
Right, right. So on a macro level, this is about energy independence, a little bit of self-sufficiency, and not the reliance. And so you've embarked on this journey, and it is a journey, you know, and give us a framework of what the pilot is at the moment. You said there's like 300 households involved.
Yes.
You know, just give us a bit of an idea of where we are now.
Okay, well, the pilot is with 300 households, and what we're trying to do is make a shift in the usage of energy, so that it's more comparable with the renewables that we have. So we know when we have solar energy and wind energy, because we have weather predictions, and we've checked that during the time what our renewables are, and we will try. And all the people in their houses get information on the basis of which they can decide. Oh, now I'm going to turn my washing machine on, or no, I will wait a little time because then we have more renewables. The sun is shining. It's windy. So
that prediction is being pushed into the house. Yeah. So there's like a console.
There's a little screen in the house, and people can see what their usage of energy is for electricity and for gas, and they can have a diagram with the prices of the energy. And the more energy we have on the island, the cheaper the energy. So there they can see in 24 hours in advance what will happen to the energy, to the price.
So you're predicting the energy price 24 hours in advance?
Yes, that's right.
To what sort of level of accuracy? I mean,
okay, it's a pilot,
right?
So it's a game,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
So and now if it's really sunny and windy, for instance, we have a price of about 6-7 cents.
Right.
If it's the night and there's no wind, then it's about 30-35 cents. So that's the range we are using.
So it is really that sort of variable pricing model which consumers are now being made aware of, saying, okay, your electricity isn't like a flat rate or flat fee. Depending on what time of day they are, it's a different price.
It's different, yes.
On a more human level, how are people reacting to that? You know, because it sounds to me like you need a lot of human input, like, oh, can I turn the washing machine on? Oh no, better not. If I wait an hour,
okay, you know. We're now trying to see, just by this price impulse and by making people aware of how much energy they're consuming, can you change the behavior? And well, on the island of Texel it's a bit different, because people are very aware already, especially the ones who are in the pilot, because they wanted to join in the pilot. So for them it's not so much the price as more the idea of the energy is now available on the island, so now I'm going to use it. If you look at the more average community, the price might be more of a driving part in this. Yes, but it's demanding. Yes, that's right. You still yourself have to make the decisions to change some things. There are a few apparatus like a waterbed or a boiler. You can use a plug, so you put the plug in the wall and the machine therein, and then it can be driven by the screen.
So that automates the process somewhat.
Yeah,
Right.
the home energy system can do it to some machines, but not all, because it's a pilot, so you don't.
And then the idea is that as the pilot matures, I would imagine that we get to a point where, in theory, I mean, you know, whether someone wants this technology in their house or not, that's a choice the consumer
that's
makes.
right. Yep.
But in theory, we could you could have a house which is connected and polling these tariffs on the grid, and running your house from an energy consumption point of view in the most optimal way.
Yep.
Turning on the washing machine when it needs to be turned on. Obviously checking that there's washing in it. You know, you just don't want the thing running. Yeah. Is that kind of part of the vision as well, to get to that?
I think that's what's going to happen in the future. Yeah. And in our pilot, we have a community of 300, and we have the energy, the solar energy and the wind within that community. And of course we want it to grow and make it for the whole island. And if it's working on an island, the island is very nice and closed.
It's a contained environment.
So you can test a lot of things.
Yeah.
And if it's working with us, then it could be working in any community.
And you mentioned a little bit about your energy sources, solar and wind.
Yep.
Just tell us a little bit, so what have been some of the challenges to get those? Because, I mean, one of the things about, I mean, they're intermittent for a start, you know, that's a challenge. But the other thing is also, you know, there's always this desire to have renewable energy. But then there is also the direct cause and effect of that. You know, you need a lot of windmills.
Yes.
Yeah, you need PV systems.
Yep.
Yeah. Which sometimes aren't the most aesthetically pleasing things. You know, just talk to us about some of those more human challenges as well.
Yes, on Texel, tourism is very important, and there are people who think if we put more windmills up, it's a pollution of the view, and it will affect tourism and therefore the economy of the island. So that is not helping to get more windmills on the island. And with solar energy, it's less so, because it's more accepted. It's not so disturbing in the view. But they're
you
also
can hide
there.
it a bit
you can
as well.
hide
You can put it on the roofs. And,
yeah. But of course, the less influence and renewable has on the environment, the better it is. So we're getting a test site for tidal energy.
Right.
And that's something that's in the water. It's not on the island. It's easy. It's almost an attraction to have it. So it's not a disturbance of your touristic island. It's more of an advance, and we're looking at more alternatives that you can see. It doesn't have to be like this. So, for instance, you have the windmills, but you have also other ways of catching the wind that might be even nice to look at, or hiding it. And so there are more energy produced by plants. Maybe in the future we can use that because we have wet environment.
Right.
So we're looking at all kind of things that you can.
So you're really looking at it as like creating an energy system,
Yes.
where every little piece plays its part.
Yeah.
So I suppose then you have the technology challenge, don't you? Because this needs to be hyper-connected.
Yes.
Because when one thing goes down, the other thing needs to compensate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, how are you managing all of that?
Okay,
and what's the funding model as well for this?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
Yes. At the moment we have one big computer that runs this, because it's only a pilot of 300 households, and it's a self-learning system. So it gets all the weather reports, for instance, and therefore it predicts our renewables, and it checks if its predictions were all right. So it's getting better and better.
Right.
And the same with the usage. It has a load of just, it gets all the usage of all the home systems, and it predicts the usage for the next week. And it checks if the predictions were all right. And so it also checks now if there's a shift. It's going to predict better and better how big the shift will be and how it can balance the whole system. And now we have to, of course, buy energy in the moments of shortage and sell energy in the moments of surplus.
So
that system is very smart, yes.
and is it getting smarter?
It's getting
are you
smarter.
seeing an improvement from when it started?
It's getting
is the baby growing up?
The baby is growing up. It's getting better and better, but you still have to feed it. So you give the right weather reports and and all the right informations of the home systems. And it's of course crucial that everything works and that all the connections stay connected. And that is something in the beginning of the pilot that we learned a lot. That connections were failing and how to rebuild them and how to make sure that it stays all right and what's the distance you can have between all the stuff, and that was a very interesting period.
And to kind of move on with that a little bit as well, you know, there's somewhat, I feel, of a wave of communities wanting to take charge of their own energy destiny from a micro level to sort of bit grander scales. You know, we interviewed someone from Cornwall, for example, so that's on a whole, county level. What do you think is the role of the utility in this entire thing?
Oh, it's very big. Yeah.
And because it's Aliander, isn't it, who are working with you guys?
Yep.
What have they brought to the party? I mean, just very quickly, if you can tell us a little bit about that ecosystem.
Well, we can only do this pilot because they're all smart meters on the island. And that is because Leander decided Texel would be the ideal place to test the rollout of smart metering in the Netherlands. So on the island, about 80% of the households have a smart meter. If that was not the case, we couldn't do that.
And that enables the dynamic pricing.
Yep.
Which then
that is because, yes, that's why we can get the information of all the households. That's why we can put the extra home management system there and connect them all to the decentral energy management system. And that makes it all work. And Leander is a big party in it, because if there were no smart meters, no project. And in the project itself, they help because they do a lot of information in the data analysis. Yes.
So tell me, what are the economics? You know, let's say someone's watching this. They've got a similar geography case and whatever, and say, well, this sounds great. We may want to do some of this. How do you make the economics stack up? You know, how does that work?
Well, how do you get money out of this? For one thing, if we have our own renewables, we can put them on the market for the price on the island, and if we can shift the usage on the right way, that means you don't have to buy anything and sell on the moment of surplus. If you want to sell on the moment of surplus, oh, too bad, it's for nothing. So if you can use it yourself, you have a better price. If you don't have to buy it on the moment of low, then that's the moment that it's most expensive. So you can get a more even and more predictable what you need to do. And the earlier you know when you need something, the cheaper you can get it.
Exactly. So you can buy in advance and things like that.
Yeah.
So as we're coming to the end of our time in the studio there, and I feel we could go on, but what do you think is the single biggest challenge for this pilot to become a island-wide thing?
You need the people, and you need the technology.
Let's do the technology challenge first.
Okay. What we have discovered is that most of the equipment we use, like the home management systems and everything, it's all based on a kind of a standard situation. And on the island of Texel, nothing is standard. So we found out when we started that you really have to think hard about the range of everything and how close does everything have to be together and how do you keep everything connected. And that is essential, because if that fails, then you don't have your data and you can't do anything. So that's what we discovered is one of the big learning points in our pilot.
And I would imagine the storage side of things, the energy storage and things like that.
Like now, at the moment, we don't have any storage. If you have, then you have so much more possibilities. because you can put your surplus in the storage, and you can even your whole system.
And balance it all a little bit more.
Yeah.
And let's very quickly do the human side of things.
Yes.
So you've got these 300 individuals who are part of, I think it's 300, right?
Yeah, something like
but
that.
But they are willing volunteers,
yes.
so there's probably less to do to get them to use it. They might moan about the system, but they're
interested
in
in sustainability, and they're not doing it for the money, but because they want their island to be green, in short.
And how do you flip that to other people?
Yeah,
what do you think is your...
I think the green, the idea of being green and being good for your environment is stronger on an island, which is it's our island.
Yes.
That will be different in another community which is so closely knit together. And if you can put a financial incentive in it, that might help. If you can combine the greenness with the financial incentive, then it can work.
Then you win.
Yes, yes.
Well, listen, it's been great talking to you. I hope we can continue this narrative, and you know, let's not wait a whole year, but maybe check back in with you guys and see how it's going, just to get an update, because I think it's fascinating for our members to kind of see what's going on, what's possible, and learn from the challenges, and you know, and the wins as well.
Yes.
So, thank you very much for taking the time to be here.
Okay,
really
you're welcome.
And thank you as well for watching, and many more of these interviews on Energie, and do let us know if you want other things that you'd like us to cover.